Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first video of the video series in which we are going to make a mobile application for notes taking using Flutter. Although this is my first time creating a complete mobile application in this channel, and I'm a bit of excited and nervous too, but anyways, let's jump right into it. Okay, first thing first, we're going to create a Flutter project. So I'm using VS Code, but that's okay if you use other code editors such as IntelliJ or Android Studio. So to create a new Flutter project, we come to the View menu and then click on the command palette or use the shortcut Ctrl-Shift-P. After that, type in Flutter new project and press enter. Again, press the application button. And now just specify the location for your project to reside in. So I will choose mine. And now it's application name. So we will name our application Awesome Notes. And remember to use underscore instead of spaces, because spaces are not available for naming the project names. Anyways, press enter. So now VS Code is creating the Flutter project for us. So we will wait till the project is ready. Okay, so the project is ready. So I will minimize the Explorer, and here we go. We are having the default application that Flutter brings with every project that we create first. So these are the additional codes that I don't want to be here. So first of all, let's just remove the comments. So for that, I will replace, I used a shortcut for that, but I don't know where it is. But the shortcut is Ctrl-H. So I will tell them to remove all the comments using a regular expression, and now I will replace all of them with nothing. And then reformat the code, and here we go. So here we have my homepage, which I won't use, so let's remove this too. Okay, so let's create our own homepage. So go to the Explorer and right click on the lib folder and create new file, and we'll name it main page.dart, and this is going to be a stateful widget because we'll manage some states in here. So, and we'll call it main page. Very good. So, and as the main page, we will return a scaffold. And in the scaffold, we will use appbar, and for that, we will use the appbar widget. And as the title, which takes a widget again, we'll use a simple text, and we'll call it Awesome Notes. And also, I want to enter some emoji for notes, which is this one. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let's just bring this new page in the main page and to replace it instead of the default one. And let's import that using this bulb and import the library. I usually use the shortcut for that. You can use the shortcut too. Okay. So now I think we're ready, but before that, let's just rename the title of the material up to, again, Awesome Notes. So let's run the application and see how it looks like. So go to the run menu and then run without debugging, or Shift P is the shortcut for that. So the application will run. And again, we'll wait until the application is ready. Okay, so the application is ready and we can see the title at the top. Okay, let's close this widget inspector thing and also the debug console for now. So what we're gonna make, let's have a look at that. So we're going to make this first page and then we'll move on to the next pages that are coming, like creating notes and other thing. But for now, we'll focus on this part. So now we are going to make the skeleton of this page, and then once it's complete, we'll come back and work on the coloring and styling and other tiny little details. Okay, so let's first start by adding the button for logging out, which will add the feature of logging out in the next videos. So come to the main pages and here we have it. So the title is Awesome Notes, and for adding an icon we will use the actions, which takes a list of widgets, and in this case we will add one widget, which is an icon button. And for the onPressed, we will leave it empty for now, and for the icon we can use the internal Flutter material design icons, but I would like to use another package called Font Awesome Icons, which is available on the website, which hosts all the plugins and packages for Flutter, called pub.dev. So first we'll go to pub.dev and there search for Font Awesome, and that it is Font Awesome Flutter. And for installing, go to the installing tab and copy this command and come back to the application and then open the terminal. Okay, we will go to the view and then terminal. In here we'll paste this and then enter. This will add this package to our pubspec.yaml file that is in here. So it will be added here somewhere. See, it is added, and I want to update something else, which is Flutter links to its latest version. So let me find its latest version first, and it is 3.0.1. So let me update it to 3.0.1 and just get the packages. So the Font Awesome package is installed on our machine, so we can use it. So I will use the internal FA Font Awesome icon widget, and I will import the Font Awesome library, and in here we can use Font Awesome icons, and then right from bracket, which is an icon used for signing out. So let's see how this works. So we'll hot reload and save it, and here we go. This is it. So the next thing is to add a text field for searching the notes with this search icon as the prefix of it. So this is the app bar section that we worked on, and now it's the body turn. So body also takes a widget, which in this case we'll use a column, and as its children, first of all let's add a text field, and for the text field we'll add a decoration which takes input decoration, and here we will add a label text, and we will say search notes. And now we will add another, which is prefix icon. This widget will place a widget before the label text, and in here we will use an icon widget, and we will use the font awesome icons dot magnifying glass, and let's hot reload it. I'm using the shortcut Control S that I customized, but you can use this little button here for hot reloading. So here it is, we have it, but we want to add a little bit of horizontal padding on both sides. So for that, let's wrap the column widget with a padding, and a padding of 16 will be fine. Okay, so what's the next thing? The next thing is creating this toolbar kind of thing. So this can be a row because we have this button and then this drop down button and then this button at the end. So for that we have a text field, and after the text field we will add a row, and here we have children, and as the first child we will add an icon button again, and for the unpressed we'll leave it for now, and as the icon we will add font awesome icon, and again we will add arrow down for now. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, here it is, which is cool. Okay, let's add the drop down button. So for a drop down we will use another widget called drop down button, which takes items. Items are a list of drop down menu item and unchanged. We'll talk about the unchanged, but first we want to create our options. So this drop down is used to sort the notes based on the date created or date modified. So we have two options, and we will use two strings. So we will say final list of string drop down options equal to date modified and date created. So these are the drop down options, and as the items, so we will use drop down options, and then we will map these. So for every string we will create a drop down menu item. So drop down menu item, which takes a child, so we will return a text for now, and the text will be that string that we have. In here we have the error saying that type of iterable drop down menu item cannot be assigned to list of drop down menu items, so we will return this iterable to a list. And here we go. And there is one thing, which is the value of the drop down button. So it will decide what is written in here. That's the value. So for that, we want to use the first one, date modified value. So for that, I'll use string value, or better to name it a drop down value, equals to drop down options dot first, and we will make this late. And now we can add this to drop down value, and for every drop down menu item this also needs to have a value, so it can compare this to this one and then decide and change it. So for this we have value again. We will use the E that is coming, this string which is coming, this is going to be its value too. And on change, this is going to get a string. Okay, so new value we'll call it, and in here we have to change this drop down value. So we will set state means change the state so the changes are visible on the screen. And in here we will say drop down value equals to new value. And this can be a null, so we will just check the null operator for now. So now let's hot reload this thing because we're introducing some of the variables in here, so it's better to restart instead of hot reload. And here we have it. We have date modified, and that is the first thing which is shown by this drop-down value, and now we can change it to date created or again date modified. Awesome. And the final thing that we are going to add is this button for showing the notes in grid mode or in list mode. So I will add it in here, which is again an icon button, and as the onPressed we will leave it empty for now, and as the icon we will use the font awesome icon widget and then font awesome icons dot bar for now. And let's see how it looks like. Here we go. And we want this to be at the end of this row, so we will add a spacer before this one and it will push that to the end. Great. So this part is complete, and then we have this part for showing the notes, the note cards. So we will use a grid view for this. So here we had the row which is complete for now, and underneath that we will use a grid view, and we'll use the grid view dot builder, and for grid delegate, which it takes grid delegate, so we will use sliver grid delegate with fixed cross axis count. So cross axis is this axis, okay, because we're using, so the main axis is the vertical one and the cross axis is the horizontal one. So we want 2 items in the cross axis, so that's why we will tell it cross axis count is 2, and then we will say that the cross axis spacing is 4 for now, and then the main axis spacing is again 4. So this spacing decides spacing, like this space, the cross axis space, and this space is the main axis space, which is 4 for now in both axes. And as the item builder, which takes a build context and integer, so we'll say context and integer index, which is going to be the index of each element. So we want to return for now a container, okay, and inside that container we will use a column, which the first element is going to be the title, the second for tags, and then for content, and then for this date and this icon. So first thing first, as the child we will use a column widget, and as a children we will add a text widget for now. Going to be a title, okay, and then we will add a list of tags. So again I will use a row for now, and the child going to be a container. We can use the internal chips, but it has some spacing problems that I don't like, so I will use the container, and then as a child I will use a text, and I will say first chip, and underneath that we'll use another text for showing the content. So let's just put some content, and underneath that we'll use another row for the date and for an icon. So I will use a row of children. The first child will be a text widget, and we will say of November 2023, And then we will have a font awesome icon, and then font awesome icons dot trash. Let's see how this looks like. In a debug console, as we can see, it gives us an error, and that's relating to this grid view. So why this error is happening? Because we use, where is the grid view? Here's the grid view, and this grid view is a child of this column. So this grid view is taking infinite space. So that's why it just goes beyond the space available for it. So to remove this error, we will wrap this grid view with a widget called expanded, which will tell the grid view to fill just the remaining space of the column, which is this part. So it will not go beyond this. So let's hot reload this again. And here we have it. These are our items. I know they're very ugly, but as we can tell, this again goes for infinite. Okay, why? Because we didn't mention the item count for this. Let's say for now we want 15 items, and then hot reload it, and then we will just get 15 items, which is cool for now. So now one thing which is remaining is this large button, and we will add that too, and then we will come back from top to bottom and work on the styling. So to add a floating action button, which is that large button, we can use another property of the scaffold, which is floating action button, and we will use floating action button dot large, not small, not the normal one, but the large one. And unpressed is going to be empty for now, but as the child we will use that font awesome icon widget, and then font awesome icon, and then plus, I think. Now let's just hot reload this again, and here we have it, the extended version of the button. Okay, and now let's just come back and work on the styling part. So first of all, we want to introduce some colors to our application that we will use throughout the video series. So for that, we will introduce another file called constants.dart, and in here let me introduce some of the colors that we will use. So I'll paste these colors to save our time, and this is giving us error, and that's because we didn't import the material library, and this is good. So now I want to introduce these styling in the material app theme property, so we will not use it on every single page. So first of all, we will say app bar theme, because I want the app bar to first look transparent, and then its title to give a special kind of text style. So I'll use the app bar theme, and then I'll use the existing app bar theme. So I'll get the existing app bar theme by using theme.ofContext.appBarTheme, and now I will copy with, add some tweaks to it. So I will tell it to give the background color to colors.transparent for now, and again app bar title text style is going to be text style, and I want to add the color, which is going to be the primary color, which we just introduced in the constants file, and then the font size is going to be, let's say, 32. And now when we hot reload this, it will apply these to all of the app bar existing in our application, and here it is. Interesting. I want to also use a custom font So I will use two fonts, one for the title and other for all other parts of the application. So to add a custom font to a Flutter application, first to download the font, I will download it from the Google Fonts, and let's search for the fonts. The first font that I want to use is called Poppins. Here's the Poppins, and then you can download the family, but I already downloaded it. Just Poppins, and another is Freduca, which again I have downloaded it. So let's just extract both of them, and let's just choose the bold one and the italic one and the regular one. And now we have the project, and at the root of the project we want to create another folder called assets, and inside of this assets folder we want to create another folder called fonts for fonts, and again another folder for the Poppins, and then copy the Poppins into the Poppins folder. And I want to create another folder too called Freduca, and then go to the Freduca folder and choose the Freduca bold and regular. Do we have italic? No, I think so. This is okay, and then bring it into here. Once this is added, go to the pubspec.yml file, and in here uncomment to this section. Once that's uncommented, I want to register the Poppins, so I will call it the Poppins. This name can be used then in code to reference to this font family. And for its fonts, we can use the path that we have. So we will say assets slash, we have fonts, and then slash Poppins, and then we have Poppins regular, and then we have again this path that I want to replace in here, but just replace the regular with italic, which the style is italic, so the system knows how to render the italic. It will use this specific file. And then for the bold, we can again copy this part and then tell it to be bold, and for bold we will use the weight attribute, which is 700. So the Poppins font is registered. Now it's the Freduca turn, so I will use the Freduca. So, and then we will have Freduca regular. I'll copy this path completely, but in here we have fonts, and then that is in the Freduca folder, and we will name this to Freduca regular to match this file. And then again I will copy this one and paste it in here, and I will name it bold, and the weight is fine. And now when that's ready, just get all those libraries, and now it's ready and we can use it in our application. Now I want to change the font style of the application, so we can add the font family, and we will just use Poppins. And for the app art title, we will use a different font family, which is going to be font family and Freduca. And now just hot restart the application, and here it is. Okay, the font is changed. And one thing that I want to do with the title is to make it bold, font weight, and then font weight dot bold. I don't know why this is giving me error. Use const with constructor to improve performance. And where is the error? Okay, here we forgot to add the comma, and again hot restart, and here we have it. I think it's almost the same thing. Now it's time for styling this button. So for that we will go to the main page. Now we're good with this, but in here I want to style this button. So and now I will say icon button dot style from, and now we will change the background color to primary, and border, I don't know if it has a border in here. Let's check it in here. Okay, I think that's the shape. So rounded, it takes a rounded rectangular border, and in here I will say the border radius is going to be border radius dot circular. I want it to be circular with a radius of 12. And then let's just hot reload for now and see how it looks like. Okay, not bad. But now let's change the foreground color to white. This white is also declared in the constants folder, and we'll make this white, which is okay, and then just a border with black color, and then we would say side border side, which takes a border side, and in here the color is going to be black. And let's hot reload this, and I think that's okay. It's pretty much it. Interesting. We'll add the functionality later on. And now we want to change the text field. This requires a little bit of decoration. First of all, it is filled with a white color. Okay, excuse me. One thing is left, which is the overall background color. And I will go to the main page again, the main file, and in here we will say scaffold background color is going to be the background color that we introduced in the constants folder. And now it is the color that we want. And now we want our text field to be filled with white color. So for that, I will use fill color is going to be white. And besides this, we will make the field to true. And now it will look white. Another thing that I want to do is to add a border. So for that, we have a border property, but remember, this border will not work as expected as we want. So instead we will use the enabled border and then the focused border. So let's just first work on the enabled border, which takes an input border. Input border is an abstract class, so we have to use an outline input border, and then we will use the border radius of all to no we'll use the border radius circular 12, and again the border side is going to be the border side, and color is going to be primary. See how it looks like for now. I think it's slowly taking shape, and when we focus on the text field, it just returns to another style. So for this we will use focused border. So we will duplicate this and change this to focus border, and again hot reload, and now it is very good. As we can see, this circular text is coming to the top, which we don't want. So in fact, instead of label text, we will use hint text, and we will copy this and just remove this one, and then hot restart, and now it is just a hint, which will not be going to the top. And now, as you can see, this is a little bit thinner, first of all, I want to change the hint style to a little bit different. So I would say font size is going to be 12 for you. Okay, and now we want to change the spacing a little bit, vertical spacing. So for that, let's first change the icon size to 16 to make it a little bit more smaller, and now we will make the isDens to true. Okay, and it becomes a little bit smaller, and again we will say content padding to edge insets dot 0, and again, now this icon by itself creates spacing around it. I think it's 48 or something, but let's change it to 42. So for that we will use prefix icon constraints, which takes a box constraints object, and let's make the min width to 42 and min height to 42, and then let's hot restart. And as you can see, it's now almost this thing, but let's change the border radius. I think the border radius is more than we want, so we'll change it to 8 for now. And I think that's what we really want. Great. And now let's work on the options part. So under the text field, we have this row widget. And this row widget represents the option toolbar, which we'll call it view options from now on, and that's this one. So let's see how the actual design looks like. So here we see that there is no space around this icon and also this icon, and also there is space between this icon and drop down button to the right. So let's start with the lift button. So first of all, I want to remove all of the padding around it. So to do that, we come to the icon button, and then we introduce the padding, and we will assign it edge insets dot 0 for now. And also we assign the visual density dot compact, and also we assign the constraints box constraints empty. So we assign empty box constraints, and let's see how it looks like. See, the padding is smaller than before, but not as we want, because there is still padding out there. So for that we need to do one thing more, and that's the style, and we assign it to the icon button dot style from. In here we say tap target size, and assign it material tap target size dot shrink wrap. And now this will do the job and remove all of the padding around it, and it's also give it a new size of 18. By default it is 24, and also a new color, and we will assign it gray 700 for now. And let's hot reload that, and that looks pretty good for now. So this icon button to the right is the same about styling. So let's copy all these properties from padding to the color and copy it in the bars icon for now, and let's hot reload that, and that's great. Now let's go to the drop down button and see how the actual design looks like. So there's a new icon in here, and let's change the icon. And also there is no underline in the actual design, as you can see here, but here we have an underline. So let's do all of these things in here. First, for the icon, we will assign a new icon, and that is going to be font awesome icon. And again, font awesome icons dot arrow down wide short. And for the underline, there is another property, and for this property we want to assign just a sized box, means nothing is there in sized box dot shrink. So let's hot reload this, and here we go. And also we need to change the icon size to 18 and also color to match other colors, which are gray 700. And now this looks fine for now, but as you can see, there is no space between the text did modified and the icon. So for that, we have to wrap this icon with a padding widget, and we'll just give it a padding of left, and we'll give it padding of 16 for now. And this looks better than before. And also there is no space between this left icon and the drop down button. So for that, we come here and add a sized box of width 16. Pretty nice. Let's change this padding to 8 for now. So what's the other thing? The other thing is I want to change the corners to be rounded. So for that, we come to here and add the border radius and give it a border radius of circular 16. And now hot reload that, and that looks so much nicer. Okay, other thing that I want to do is to show a check button, for example, in front of every chosen item. So if date modified is chosen, when we open this menu, then there should be a check button after that. So to do that, we come to the items section, and in the drop down menu item, for now we return the text, but we want to return a row and return an icon, and icons dot check, and also a little bit of spacing, size the box of width 8. And let's see how it looks like. So when we open the menu, there are check buttons all over the place, but I only want it with the chosen one. So to discriminate between those two, we have to add an if statement in here and say if this value e equals to the actual value of the drop down, means this item is selected to the drop down value, then only then show these two things. But for now it only shows the sized box. So to group the sized box and icon together, we should use another syntax, which is dot dot brackets around these two widgets, and now it'll show these two widgets together only if this condition is true. So let's hot reload that, and let's open the menu, and now only the chosen one has the check mark button. So when we change it to date created and open it again, and there's the icon widget. And now the icon is also shown in the drop down button text, which we don't want. So for that, we have another property which is called selected item builder, which takes a function with a build context and returns a list of widgets, means for every item. So we will give it a context and return for all of the drop down options, and then we will map it to a text of e and then to list. And now this selected item builder widget will be shown only in here, so without an icon. And now we have the icon in the menu but not in the selected item. And now there is a little bit of space under the date created, and that's because there is another property called is dense that should be set to true. And now we are good to go. Interesting. And that's working fine, but there should be a space under and before this view options. So for that, we come to the row which represents the view option and wrap it with a padding. So we just want the vertical padding, so for that we will use symmetric, and we just want vertical padding of 8. this looks pretty much what we want. Now I think we're done with the view options toolbar, and now it's turn for the note cards. So for that, let's work on the single note widget and decorate it. Give it a border and also a background color and move on. So we come to the end of the padding, and here we have the grid view builder, and here is the note card, which for now is a container. And let's start giving it a color and a border. So for that, we have a decoration property which takes a box decoration, and in here we can declare the color to be white and also the border to be border.all and color primary. And now let's hot reload that. Nice. One other thing that we have to do is give it a border radius of border radius dot circular 12. Okay, now this note card needs to have a padding, so we will introduce a padding of edge insets dot all, and we will give it a value of 12. Interesting. And the other thing that we want to do is to give it a shadow, like in the original design. We have a shadow to the bottom right of the note card. So for that, we have to again go to the decoration and give it the shadow, and this takes a list of shadows. So for now, we will just give one shadow in the list, and then we'll give it a box shadow, and the shadow takes a color, which we will give the primary color that we introduced in the constants file, but with an opacity of 0.5, not too light, not too dark. So now there is nothing shown in here, and that's because we didn't give it an offset. This offset will decide where the shadow should go, and we'll give it an offset of x and y values. We will say go 4 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis, which will give it a shadow of bottom right. Amazing. Other thing that I want to do is to give it a border width of 2 to make it a little bit thicker. Now let's work on the inner part of the note card. Let's first start with the title and style it a little bit. So we give it a style, and which takes text style, and font weight is going to be font weight.bold. Amazing. Then we go to the chips part. So for now we have a container just with a text, but I want to decorate this. So again we have a decoration, and which takes a box decoration. In here we will give it a border radius of border radius dot circular. Let's give it a value of 16 for now. The aim is to match it this design, okay? And also let's give it a color of gray 100, and also let's give it a padding edge insets dot symmetric, a horizontal of 12 and a vertical of 4. Interesting, but let's change the font size of the chip text. So a style and text style of font size going to be 12. Let's compare it with the original design. I think it's better for now, but let's also give this another color, which is going to be color and gray 700. Okay, so what if we have more than one chips? So let's replicate that for now until the notes are ready. Now the row just returns one chip, but I want to return 3 chips for now. So for that I will use another constructor of the list class dot generate, and I want 3 chips, and for every index I want to return this container that we made. So I should remove the brackets for now, and let's see how it looks. Amazing. The 3 chips are shown, but it overflows the borders of the note card. So to solve this problem, we should wrap the row widget with another widget called single child scroll view, and the direction is going to be axis.horizontal. And now let's try to load it again, and see the problem is solved. And now we can scroll through the chips. And one thing is remaining, and that is the space between the 2 chips, and that is so much easy to bring. So we will go to the chip and give it a margin of edge insets dot only. We only want the space to the right of the chip, so we'll give it a right of 8. Okay, this seems pretty much what we want. And now let's see the design again. I think we are almost there, but one thing that we have to change is to make the title a little bit larger. So come again to the title and give it a font size of, for now it is 14 by default, but let's give it 16. And let's also change the color to gray 900. Interesting. We also want the title to just occupy one line, because if there is the title that contains multiple lines, it will not leave the room for other contents, such as the chip and the content of the note itself and other parts of the card. So for that, we will assign another property which is called max lines and give it a line number 1. And now it will just limit itself to one line, but it will be cut at the end, which we don't want that thing, because the user won't know that there is more text to the title. So for that, we will assign another property which is called overflow, and we'll give it a text overflow dot ellipsis. This will add 3 dots at the end of the title, so the user know that there is more to the title. Amazing. Let's go to the content. As we can see now, the content is centered. That's because we are in a column, and this column has a cross-axis alignment of center, but we want it to the right. So for that, we will assign it a cross-axis alignment of start. This way, the content will go to the right. And now, this date row is just under the content, but we want it to be in here. So for that, we have to wrap the content text with expanded, so it takes all of the available space, and that will result in pushing the date row to the end. So to do that, we come to the text of the content and wrap it with a widget called expanded. And let's hard reload that, and now it looks fine. So for content, we also need to give it some styling. So we will give it a style of text style and a color of gray 700 for now. Now let's see the design, and I think we're near to what we want. So let's work on the footer of the note card and give it a little bit of styling. So we come to the text and give it a style of text style and font size of, let's give it 12, and also let's change the style of the icon and give it a color of gray 500 and also size of 16. And also the icon should be aligned to the right of the card. So for that, we will add the spacer widget between the text and the icon. And now this looks pretty much what is in the design. And now also let's give it a font weight of font weight 600, and also a color of gray 500. Interesting. I think the cards look great for now, but I want the chips to be a little bit smaller than they are now. So we come to the chip, and in here we just give it a vertical padding of 2. And now also give this margin a value of 4. And now also add some spaces between the title and the chips and the chips and the content, and so on. So for that, we have, this is the chips part, and between the chip and the title text we will add a sized box of height 4. And also let's copy this sized box and place it under the chips on the top of the content. Amazing. So let's compare it with the original design. One other thing that I want to do is to give some functionality to this button and also this button, at least just to change their icons when they're clicked. So for that, first of all, I want to introduce a Boolean variable called is descending, and the default value is going to be true. And now I will come to the arrow down button, and on the unpressed button I will set the state and change the is descending to the reverse of it. So if it is true, it is changed to false, but if it is false, it is changed to true. And based on this state, I want to change the icon too. So if it is descending, then show a font awesome icon of arrow down, otherwise font awesome icons dot arrow up. And let's see how it works. Now when we tap on this icon, it changes its shape. And the same thing for this bar icon. So first of all, I have to introduce another Boolean variable called is grid and give it a value of true, and then go to the bars button, and the unpressed button of the bars button do the same thing. Set the state and is grid equal to not is grid, and again change the icons accordingly. If it is grid, then give me font awesome icons dot table cells large, and otherwise the font awesome bars icon. And let's hot reload this, and now when we just click it, it changes the icon. So one thing that I want to do is, when it is in grid view mode, the grid is shown, but in the list view mode, the list is shown. So for that, we go to the grid view builder, and as we know, there is a lot of code in here. So I want to extract this widget to another widget called notes grid, and it has created another widget. So I will tell them if is grid show the notes grid, otherwise show the notes list that we're going to create. So under the main page code, we will introduce another widget called notes list. And in here, instead of grid view, we will use list view dot builder. An item builder accepts a context and integer for index. So context and index, and now we will return for every item that card. So where is the item card? This is the item card. So for this, to use this code in the grid view and also the list view, it is a better idea to extract this widget to another widget called note card, and then use this note card in the list view builder constructor as well. So we'll return note card in here too, and as the item count we'll use 15. So we want 15 notes for now, and let's hot restart this. So by default it is grid mode, but if we click this button and change it to the list mode, then there is an error which is related to the notes list widget, and in here the note card. And this error is happening because grid view renders it's every child differently, and also list view renders it differently. So the main problem that occurs in here is the content text. Here we use expanded, but in the list view it overflows. So to solve this problem, we should use expanded in the grid mode, but without expanded in the list mode. So for that we should introduce another variable in here, and we'll call it is in grid, and we will accept the value in the constructor, and we'll call it required this dot is in grid. And now if it is in grid, which we will say if is in grid, then show the expanded, but otherwise just show the text. And let's see how this works. So there is error for now, and that's because we should specify the is in grid mode, and in grid view it is true, but in list view is in grid is false. And now let's hot restart, and now when we press this button the list is shown, and our list should have some spaces between the note cards. So for that we go to the note list and list view, and in here instead of the builder constructor I want to use separated, which is another constructor, and this takes another value called separated builder, and again it accepts context and index. So we want to return a sized box of height 4. So for every item we want to place a sized box after it. I think the 4 is not enough, so we make it to 8. And also look at the shadow at the right corner, which is not shown, and that's again because the list view is clipping it. So we will give it a clip behavior of clip dot none. And let's restart this, and now this looks fantastic. And there's one thing that in list mode, if the content is so much, for example, let's come to the note card and let's give a larger string to the content. So we'll copy this many times and see how this looks. As you can see, it takes as much space as there are lines for the content, but we want to limit these lines to 3 because we don't want a larger note card when there is more content. So for that, we want to give it a max size of 3. And also give it an overflow of text overflow dot ellipsis. Interesting. And let's just reset the content to just 2 words. I think this is working fine for now. And now if we go to the original design, the only thing remaining is the floating action button needs to have different style, a border and also background color and also a shadow. So we go to the top where the floating action button is, and here's the floating action button. So I want to give it a different background color, so for that we will use background color, and as the background color I will assign the primary color, and also as the foreground color, which is the icon color, I want to assign the color white. And let's hot reload this. Interesting. The other thing that I want to do is to give it a border radius. So for that we will use the shape and rounded rectangle border and give it a border radius of circular 16, and also give it a border by using the side, which gets border side object and a color of black. And let's see how this looks so far. Amazing. And the only thing remaining is the shadow. So for that we will wrap the floating action button with either a container and give it a decoration, or there is another widget called decorated box which just has the decoration property. So we will use this time the decorated box. So we will wrap it with a widget, and that is going to be decorated box, and this decorated box get a decoration. We'll give it a box decoration, and now we will give it a shadow which takes a list of shadows, and we'll give it a box shadow of color black, and also an offset of 4 and 4. And let's see how it looks. Now there is the shadow, but the corners are not rounded, so for that we will use border radius on the decoration object and give it a border radius dot circular 16, match the actual border radius of the button itself. And I think we're done with the design, and it almost looks identical to the original design. So to end this video, I want to reformat the code a little bit because the main page is becoming so much large, almost 350 lines, which makes it harder to make changes. So first of all, I want to cut the code for note card widget and place it in another file. And so we go to the lib folder and create another file called note card, and then paste the code in here, and let's import the necessary libraries and files. So where is the error? We have to import the font awesome icon too. And now in the main page we will import the note card file, and again we want to cut this note grid code and create a new file called notegrid.dart and paste it in here and import the necessary libraries. So I will do with other widgets too. Okay, so I think we are good for now, but let's just extract the floating action button to another widget called Note Fab, and we will go and move it to its own file called notefab.dart, and also extract the text field to another widget called search field, and we'll give it its own file. I think it's enough for now. And other thing that we want to do is to add constants everywhere where possible. So we add all the constants in this file, so this will make an impact on the performance, positive in fact. So we will go to the main page too and add the constants. And also other thing that I want to do is to group these files into folders, so to make it more manageable. So I will introduce a new folder called pages for having just the page files. So I'll move the main page into here. Now another folder called widgets. So I'll move the note card, note fab, note grid, note list, and search field into the widgets folder. And one other folder that I want to create is the core folder. So I want to move the constants file to the core folder. And now let's resolve the errors which are related to the import because the paths are changed for files. And that's it for this video. So we did pretty much a lot of things. And for this video we're done, and in the next video we are going to create the page for creating new notes and also editing the new notes. And then we will come back to this part and work a little bit more, maybe. Not that much, but a little bit. So those changes will make sense when we add the new note page. So that's it for this video. So if you don't want to miss the next video, please subscribe to the channel and also turn on the notification icon so that you get the notification when the new video is out. So have a good time for now and see you in the next video.